Alright, so Aew Dynamite and NXT just ended, got done watching the both of them, and I'm gonna go ahead and review the both of them once again, compare the two of them, and tell you which one I thought won this week, just like last week. And last week, I asked you guys who you thought won, and 65% said NXT won. I thought the same too, but I didn't think it was a big difference. I thought I was really close in between the two shows. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started here. So I took a different approach this week when watching both shows. This review is being posted up a lot earlier than last week's review because I went ahead and watched both shows at the same time, like literally head to head, side to side, at the same time to see who captures my attention more. So both shows kicked it off strong, just like last week. AEW this time around kicked it off with a tag team match, the Private Party versus the Young Bucks, while NXT kicked things off with the Cruiserweight Championship, formerly known as the 205 Live Championship, now known as the NXT Championship, so Drew Gulak versus Lio Rush. So these two matches, both were great matches, but I found myself tuning into the Private Party match more, the tag team match, the first round in the tournament. That was a really exciting match. Not to say the NXT match wasn't good. It was a good match, but I'm not that into Drew Gulak, and I felt like I knew Lio Rush was winning. I felt like it was predictable, but I'm still happy that Lio Rush won. It was still a great match. But between the two, I preferred AEW's opening right there. Private Party versus Young Bucks. The crowd was on fire too. The crowd was loud and they popped hard once Private Party won. So they advanced in the tournament. It was a great tag team match. Another great opener for AEW and another great opener for NXT. As far as who wins the opener this week, last week I went with NXT. I thought NXT had the better opener. This time around, I'm going with AEW. AEW takes the opener for me this time around. So that's 1 point for AEW. Now, as far as the middle, there was stuff that I liked, with the both of them here. I loved the Chris Jericho promo. He came out with the new faction, with the new stable. By the way, I love stables, heel factions. And he pretty much introduced every single one of them, put them over, and it was a great Chris Jericho promo. And you could tell it wasn't a WWE promo. He dropped, the S word, saying that he's gonna kick the living S out of Goldust. It was just a great promo, and you can tell he's got more freedom. The crowd was chanting, "We the people," and then he went ahead and addressed that and said, "We the people sucked, it's dead and it's buried," and it was a bad decision by creative, which got a pop from the crowd, and then they stopped saying it. And I'm so glad that they went with Jericho as the champion, because if Adam Page was their first champion, this wouldn't have happened. Jericho as the leader of a group, I like this, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. Now, on the NXT side of things, one of the highlights for me was Roderick Strong versus Isaiah Scott. I recognized Isaiah Scott right away because I had seen him before seeing him on NXT on MTV. There was like this documentary on MTV with MVP in there, and he was in that documentary, and he was going by Swerve at that time. So, recognized him right away right here. And what I loved about his offense is it's unique. It's unlike anybody else. You see a lot of people using super kicks nowadays. A lot of people using the same suicide dive, in between the ropes. A lot of the same moves. It's like he goes out of his way to try and find a unique way to do everything. Maybe not every single, but a lot of his offense is just unique to him, and I like that. And of course, Roderick Strong, he's a backbreaker guy. But anyways, that match was a highlight for me. Also a fan of Isaiah Scott now, and that Velveteen promo afterwards, I didn't expect him to, show that Roderick Strong pick with the censor on there. Didn't expect him to go, isn't NXT PG as well? Didn't expect them to go with that type of angle right there. Also notice in my 2 weeks of watching NXT, it seems like every single Velveteen Dream promo, he drops something in there like, this time around where he's like, "I'm going to strip you of the North American Championship," where you kind of pause there for a second. Last week it was like, I've experienced dealing with multiple men or something like that. Something along those lines last week. And speaking of Velveteen Dream, something I noticed with NXT this week, they were going hard into promoting next week's show, announcing a bunch of matches for next week and also the week afterwards. NXT out of the two shows felt like the ones trying the most to compete with the other show, being like, "Hey, tune into our show next week because we got this match, and that match." They were going really hard on that. Like, for instance, they already announced that, in 2 weeks, it's going to be Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong for the championship, and they've got a bunch of matches announced for next week. Also, almost forgot, going back to the Roderick Strong versus Isaiah Scott match, that had a lot of my attention at the time because at the same time on AEW, they had the women's tag team match with Riho and Britt Baker, and I just wasn't getting into the match too much. I was much more invested and interested in the Roderick Strong versus Isaiah Scott match on NXT. Also, I really like that submission hold that Rhea Ripley locked in on, what's her name? Aaliyah, I think? Yeah, I really like that. It was a squash match, but I liked that submission towards the end, and then she challenges, the champion who's already a dominant champion, so like it's a dominant challenger versus dominant champion, and then when you think it's just between them, you get the match afterwards with Dakota Kai versus Bianca Belair. Bianca wins, she's also a dominant superstar, and she goes ahead and pretty much challenges Rhea Ripley. She's like, no, you want a shot at the title? Go through me first, because she also wants a shot at the title. So that should be good. And then we also got Mox versus Shawn Spears on AEW. They did a good job at making Shawn Spears look cool in AEW. I was like, hey, who's that guy, sitting on the chair on the stage with the dark lights? He looks kind of cool. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's Shawn Spears. All right. But yeah, Mox wins that match, and then afterwards we get Kenny Omega. This is a part I like. Kenny Omega coming out with the barbed wire bat and the barbed wire broom. That was, but I get it. He was called a cleaner before. But anyways, he hands the bat to Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley, and then Neville gets involved, hitting Kenny Omega with the chair on the back of the head. So is it going to be like a triple threat match with these guys or something like that? Is he getting involved now? And also, I did like that after Neville or after Pac attacked Kenny, Jon Moxley didn't go ahead and take advantage of that and attack Kenny some more. He didn't take advantage of the moment or the opportunity. I like that, because I feel in the WWE, they always take advantage of the situation when somebody attacks somebody like that. Like the person that's seeing the attack is like, oh, easy pickings now, so he goes ahead, continues on the attack himself. So I really like that. So in the mid-card, and also, yes, there was, some squash matches on the NXT side of things, and on the AEW side of things, we had Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allin, but I'm not that big on Jimmy Havoc, so I wasn't too into the match, but I was paying attention to who, of course, would win the match, Darby Allin, so he's the number one contender. I had a feeling he'd win anyways, and that's going to be an interesting match, him versus Jericho. But as far as who won the mid-card, the in-between, this was a close one, man. That Jericho promo was great, but also NXT had some good matches and stuff, too. I might have to give NXT the slight edge, very slight edge here when it comes to the mid-card. So 1 point for AEW, 1 point for NXT. And then when it comes to the main event. So main event, AEW, we got tag team match. Jericho teaming up with Sammy versus Goldust and Adam Page. And on NXT's side, you got Walter versus Kushida. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, the AEW main event had more of my attention when I was watching both of them. And that ending where, and by the way, Adam Page and Goldust surprised me as a tag team. I actually liked them as a tag team. They were pretty good together, and Goldust is still great in the ring. But anyways, yeah, as expected, Jericho and Sammy win the match. Jake, is being booked pretty strong. And then at the end, once again, you get the good guys taking on the bad guys. Jericho and Sammy go for the attack on Goldust. Cody comes in for the save for a big pop with the lights going out and then coming back on. I loved, Darby Allin also coming out at the end on the skateboard and attacking Jericho, and also love the part where MJF, once again, they teased him, maybe turning on Cody, because, he's friends with Cody, but at the same time, he's a bad guy, so you never know. So you actually didn't know at that time if he was maybe going to join Jericho's group, or was he going to help Cody? And he helped Cody. And I liked it. It was pure chaos, just like last week. Yes, the group, it was kind of similar to last week, but this time around the faces kind of sent the heels, running away. But I liked it. I liked the chaos. And they did two things at once. They were building up towards the match between Cody and Jericho. They keep on doing that. And at the same time, they're getting you excited for the match next week, Jericho versus Darby, even though, I think it's obvious Jericho's going to win that, but I still think it's going to be an entertaining match. We'll see how Darby goes ahead and just destroys himself in next week's match. He seems to like doing that. And when it came to NXT, this was my first time seeing a full Walter match. I don't think it was my first time seeing a full Kushida match, because I remember watching a New Japan show and I'm pretty sure he was on the card and he had a match, and I'm pretty sure I liked it. This was a solid match, but I was like, yo, this is a big, difference in size here. I think it's pretty clear Walter is going to win this. Highly doubt Kushida's going to win this. And sure enough, Walter won. Now, as far as who won the main event, I think it's pretty clear from my comments that I prefer the AEW main event. I like that. The match combined with the ending, I enjoyed the chaos. So, AEW, 2 points, NXT, 1 point. So this week, AEW wins. I thought AEW's show this week was better than last week's show, and I liked last week's show. So hey, great job by both AEW and NXT once again, but this week, I'm going to have to give it to AEW in the comment section, and actually on the poll once again in the top right corner of the video, there's going to be a poll asking you guys, once again, the question: who do you think won this week? Who do you think won week 2? AEW or NXT? Gonna reveal the results on next week's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, click the like button down below, and I'm out. See ya.